and I made a mock-up. And then I changed the shape. We did this entire project primarily by winging it. Hi guys, welcome to the Healeyverse, or welcome back. I'm Katie, and today I made a thing. Well, again, made multiple things, and that is 2 cloaks. One for me and one for my husband. So to start out, these cloaks were actually curtains that we'd thrifted probably a year to maybe a year and a half ago. They've just sat in the corner of our house, and we finally got around to actually doing something with them. Months ago, we picked up these curtains at a thrift store. We were initially thinking of making some kind of medieval tent, but I don't know how to do that, and I would rather start with something a bit more manageable. So, obviously, cloaks. Now, the reason we thrifted them and the reason we were waiting for the right thing to make with them was because they were this gorgeous canvas-like material. I don't know if it's real canvas. I know nothing, but I do know that they took to the dye really well and they came together really well. So I already gave it away, but the first thing we did was dye the material. Now, learning about other people's experiences with dye, I'm very happy that we dyed the whole piece of fabric and didn't cut out the pattern pieces initially, which we very nearly did, because we had such a challenge with getting enough dye. So we had a couple of these sachets of this olive green dye, which was great. We needed a whole lot more. So we went to the nearest craft store, which is only a couple minutes away. We made it to the shop to get more dye.
Didn't work out great.
There's one sachet.
We need the olive green. And
So we need the olive green. There's one. We're getting it. But yeah, so we need 4 more than the 2 we already have. And there's one. Why? We looked online, they were even more expensive, and on principle, I won't pay more just to get it online if I can go to a shop and get it, so no. And it was a holiday weekend. Sorry, a bank holiday weekend, as they say here. So shops were shut, and we were kind of stuck for the weekend. However, we finally managed to get enough dye to dye them, so thank goodness.
what are you doing?
I'm making dye.
Uh-huh.
So,
Why? What did it do?
What?
What did it do to make it dye?
So those curtain things that I showed you just now, we're gonna dye them. And so we have a whole lot of green dye, which we don't quite have enough water to fit in the sink for the amount of dye. We're gonna wing it. And
Heck yeah.
it's probably gonna be fine.
Probably.
So we put the salt in, made a mess in the process. Next is adding the dye and mixing it in. So I need.
I didn't do that.
Well, I didn't.
I was in a rush to get my cap.
Look at the salt.
Have you put all 3 in now?
All 3 salt things are in, and then we'll just do a little bit. Should we start adding the dye?
Yeah, why not?
First.
You got the best.
And here we go. Brown looking dye.
And that's supposed to turn green, yeah?
Oh. It's fine. It's to get all the dye out.
Yeah.
A little
gonna
bit, yeah.
Roughly science this. Approximately 5 nothing. That does not look pleasant.
Dye hack. Don't inhale when you're pouring the powder in. It doesn't taste nice.
don't know what this looks like, but it's not pleasant.
Good soup.
It kind of does look like a boiling soup, yeah. Now we have it. All 7 of them.
Oh, and they're lumpy. Would you like soup? Or does it just say dissolve?
Dissolve in 500 ml warm water.
Add dye
It
instead
doesn't
of
really say.
Okay, so I'll keep my hands wet. Can you move the bowl?
It's once you submerge the water in fabric, you have to hold it down for 10 minutes and then stir regularly for 45.
It's 15 and then...
That's what I said, isn't it?
No, you said 10.
Did I say 10? Oh,
Yeah,
15.
10.
Approximately. 10 and 5 minutes.
You hold it underwater.
I love you.
It's just, you know, dyeing 101.
It's getting darker.
Look at that! Oh, that's so nice. It dyes so differently to the chamois leather. Like, it's
Soaks
just
it straight
soaks.
up,
Yeah.
This is one of the things that it's actually made for dyeing. So.
Yes. Olive green.
How much do you love it?
We ended up doing 1 sachet more than was actually needed because we wanted to make sure they really took the dye. And oh boy, did they. Oh, it's going even deeper. That's such like a forest green now.
It's hard to see from this angle.
Yeah, the camera's not picking it up as well.
It's so dark. It's almost black.
Well, we left it a bit longer.
Hour and a half.
Yeah, when it was supposed to be 45 minutes. It's fine. It looks a totally different color on camera. It looks lighter on camera. It's darker than that. But they then washed out to a reasonable color. We were quite happy with the color that they came out. Right, next up was figuring out patterns, sort of. So my lovely mother had sent all the way from America some old cloak patterns that she had kicking around. My initial plan was to use one of these for the cloaks. Little update on everything. We have a table now, so I'm working on that. But I'm taking some scrap white sheet-like material and doing a mock-up of the hood because we might want it bigger than the pattern. I know Matt wants a deep hood, so I'm gonna mock it up and then see if it needs any modifications or if it works as is. The cloak, I don't think I'll need to do a mock-up of. I think that'll be fine. So I am cutting out the hood pattern, ironing it smooth, pinning it to the material, cutting it out, and then I'll whip it together with my sewing machine and see how that goes. And then after dyeing the material, we realized that we didn't have enough fabric. We maybe would have had enough fabric to do 1 cloak, but not 2 matching cloaks. Not with the pattern for the cloaky bit. So what I did instead was I used the hood. I used the hood pattern and I made a mock-up. And then I changed the shape. So I did the mock-up and we decided to modify it. So I made this as a new pattern, modified from the original. And then I knocked together this hood, which like, oh no, Handmaid's Tale. It's got like a little thingy at the back. And it'll be a heavier material, obviously, but it works. Made my own pattern with Matt's help and used the pattern that we made to make the hoods. So I sort of almost followed a pattern. Thanks, Mom. To be fair, I couldn't have made the hood pattern that we did use without the pattern that we had. So already it's paying off. But in future, I do want to make a more swooshy cloak when I have more material. So I will be hanging on to this and all the other patterns because obviously I'm going to make more stuff. Now, what we did figure out, and this took so much trial and error, because I made a mock-up of the hood shape that we designed, and then made like a mock piece of cloak length material to figure out where to pin it, how to pin it. Was I pleating the material? Was I not pleating the material? Was the hood gonna have pleats? Answers to that one is yes and no. Okay, so I've played around a little bit with the mock-up in that I attached it to another piece of fabric, and I tried out a couple of different ways of attaching it with pleats on the hood, without pleats on the hood, with pleats on the cloak bit, without them. So I figured out no pleats on the cloak, pleats on the hood for me, no pleats on the hood for Matt. There's not enough material to follow the pattern. So we're winging it. And essentially the hood is roughly following the pattern that we made. And then the cloak, we are completely just using the material and attaching it to the hood. So I'm gonna take the hood, lay it out, right side to right side, pin it so that there's enough space for the neckline, and then cut that neckline out of the cloak part, and sew that together. I hope that makes sense. Hopefully it makes sense when you watch it.
Hi.
Hello.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I am working on the cloak hood. It's yours. It's free. Oh heck, that's not relevant. I have just sewn the seam around the back to put the hood together to go all the way around the head. And now I'm doing the front seam, or so it would seem. But yeah.
That's what they like and subscribe for.
That's why they're here. So once again, should have ironed between these steps, but I'm gonna iron after. I need to press this seam down, and if I'd done it before, it would make this pinning bit a little bit easier, but like...
You live and learn, eh, sweet?
No, like I've learned. I'm doing it anyway.
Uh-huh.
Obviously. So essentially what I figured out was that my hood was getting pleats, Matt's hood was not, and neither cloaky bits were getting pleats because it just bunched the material in a weird way, and I wasn't here for it. So, super simple, take the shape of the hood, pin it to the cloak material so that there is enough space for the ends, like the front corners of the hood, to touch, and then once that's sewn, cut the middle bit out. I've finished the hood, one of them. I'm only going to show me making one of these cloaks because it's mostly the same thing. Anyway, I finished it, I've ironed it, and I've ironed the fabric that it's attaching to. So now I need to find the midpoint of the material, mark that, line it up with the midpoint or the seam of the hood, and then pin it so that there's excess material. And you're gonna see it in a minute. Just have a look at this.
How are we doing?
Hello. Okay, so I am finding the center point of the fabric, so that I can mark it. So I just have to line up these ends, which don't look at that. I ironed it. It's just being stubborn.
Look at that.
Stop looking at it.
Okay.
It's fine. So just lining it up, and then take that center point, and I'm just using my chalk to mark it, so that I can then line it up and know exactly where the center is and where to pin the hood. Then lay out the fabric. Alright. Which I ironed this. I just did it. It just likes to wrinkle. It's fine. So then, basically, I just make sure this center seam is lined up with that line, and these corners are equidistant from it, which they're not at the moment. And then leave enough room for a seam. I say that is the seam. So they can go right up to that. And then I pin. And then once I've pinned it and sewn it, then I cut this out, and that should be roughly neck shape.
Cool.
So, wish me luck. And there it is, all pinned. Now there is a lot of pinning and sewing that I did not film because it's repetitive and boring, so I tried to just give you the highlights. Now, one thing I decided that the cloaks were going to need was kind of a taper at the front, because being just rectangles of fabric meant it had all four corners, and with sewing the hood into the center of one of these sides, you still have two little corners that are just hanging out up here. So we did this bit primarily by winging it. I say that. We did this entire project primarily by winging it. But once the hoods were attached, we then figured out the space and the taper we each wanted. I have a slightly larger taper because I am smaller. Matt had a smaller taper because he wanted the cloak to be more in the front. Now at some point I still want to do a really swishy full cloak with the pattern that we didn't end up using, because I really like the pattern and I think it'll make a really fun floaty cloak. But admittedly, I'm glad we didn't do it for this one because the fabric is already heavy as is, and if you add any more material, it's just gonna be really heavy. So once I had that corner bit cut, then it was just a case of folding over the seam, sewing it, and then figuring out the claspy bit.
Hi.
Hello.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm just pinning and pinning. But
Which part are you pinning?
I'm pinning the sides. So essentially,
Like what hangs down?
yeah. So because it was just like a rectangle, the corners, once we attached the hoods, were very cornery. So we've rounded them out a bit, each to our individual sizes. And then I'm just pinning so that it's all nice and clean looking, and all this stuff is just hidden. Shh. I'll put it away. No one knows it's here.
Keep it safe.
Just trimming off the excess. And then we have to figure out the fastener for the cloaks, which I've not said a darn thing about because, to be fair, until very recently I wasn't confident what I was going to be doing for it. But I think I've got it. And I got some cool buttons, and I get to suffer through doing buttonholes.
Are both of them done?
Yep. Tis. Gosh, there's so many fatties. Oh, it's all the buttons. Just. Oh.
Very cool.
Cloak. It's giving cloak.
Yeah.
Granted, this hood is a whole lot bigger than mine because I made Matt's bigger and I didn't do pleats, so it's all hood. And now we have to figure out fastening it. So, and by that I mean we have a plan.
So we've got an idea what we're doing.
Yes.
Just involves some buttonholes on Madam's behalf.
Okay, so essentially, we're gonna get a panel of fabric to go across. We're gonna put buttons on the. So rude. put buttons on the cloak itself and then buttonholes on the panel and a button on either side, and then just hold it securely from 4 points. I was gonna do mine with 2, and I realized that it's a lot of weight to just hold from 2 points.
Yeah.
So, we're not doing that. This claspy bit. Not this, because that's a pin that we just added for funsies. But I toyed around with what to do for the closure. And I looked at different Hobbit Cloaks styles, Elven Cloak styles. And essentially what it came down to is the fabric wasn't the right shape to go across itself. And I considered doing just a single button on either side for mine, but then really I want a solid anchor point. So 4 buttons. I did make my fastener piece a bit more narrow than Matt's. He wanted a nice broad one that sat well on his chest. Obviously we have different anatomy, so they're customized to us. But then it was a matter of cutting out the dimensions we wanted. I ended up doing it double layered. So what I did was just a neat little trick where I cut one piece of fabric the size that I wanted it, and then marked out about 1 centimeter in every direction from that to cut out a slightly bigger piece, folded the edges over, sewed it up, and then obviously that's on the reverse. So the front is nice and smooth, no folded edges getting in the way. From there, buttons. Now, I haven't put out the video for my other project where I first learned buttons, but oh boy, that was a nightmare. So I was dreading doing 8 buttonholes, but I committed already. So, as it turns out, my sewing machine really likes this material a whole lot more than the other material I was using, so that was a win. The buttonholes actually ended up coming together fairly well. I won't specify which ones, but a few of them may not be perfectly lined up with the others. I'm not perfect, okay? I'm still figuring all this out, and there was no pattern to give me any kind of guidance for this. I wung it. I don't know how you say it, but I flew by the seat of my pants. I'm in a dress. I'm in a skirt. It's fine.
Probably small in every way, but for now it'll do. Oops.
So what's the pin for?
So the pin, so there's 2 methods of doing this. First is you can either put a pin on either side, or you can do the center one. And that's literally just to prevent you from taking this and just going through everything and ripping open your buttonhole. So this, if you do it either side, you can go straight across or like from the center out. But I don't like the fiddliness of lining up 2 pins on either side, so I'm just doing the one in the middle, and then it catches your seam ripper and stops you from making an oopsie.
Cool.
Dude, I'm improving. Don't mind this. I just ate dinner and I'm very full, so. But that's the buttonholes. So now all that's left is sewing the buttons on at the back of these.
To the cloaks.
Yes, to the cloaks. But what we'll have to do is try on the cloaks and put the thingy across and then mark through the...
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
We got this.
But we probably can't film it because we will both be busy, so...
Right.
I'll see you after.
Unless we set the camera on a surface.
Why would you even suggest such a thing?
Because I like awkwardness.
Fair enough. Yeah, we can do that.
Yes.
Anyway, so we'll do that now.
You've seen my videos before, guys. You know I like awkward. awkward and long-winded, drawn out, and boring you guys to the point where you never come back. But I do it with love.
Once the buttonholes were done, it was a matter of opening them up and then marking where to sew on the buttons, which I said I was going to show you. I lied. After that, it was just a matter of sewing on the buttons. Again, super time consuming and not very interesting, so not much footage of that. But 4 buttons per cloak later, look at that. I mean, that was pretty much it. It's a very basic cloak, I will say that, but I'm very happy with how it came out. And to say they were my first solo cloaks. The last one that I made was mainly just helping my mom make it, and that was like 7 years ago. So I am so proud. With that, we're gonna cut to some really cool B-roll right now. Wasn't that cool? I'm pretty happy with them. Like, we got 1 cloak, 2 cloak, green cloak, I don't know. I don't have one for that. But I'm really happy with them. Shout out to Ivar2x4 who commented on my apron video saying to make the cloaks because I did it. I done it. I'm very proud of myself too. So yeah, super simple cloak. No real pattern except for the hood, but even then I feel like you could probably pretty easily wing it by just drawing the shape you want. I'm really happy with them. I hope you found this video fun, which if you did, make sure you go down and hit like, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you get notified whenever we're gonna make something cool, like cloaks. Perfect for any Middle-earth adventure, or any LARP. Or just, you know, lounging around the house wearing a cloak. I will say one thing. These are really going to up the authenticity of our medieval movie nights that we have with the kids. And ourselves. In case you're wondering, medieval movie night is when you get swords, watch a medieval movie, and potentially wear cloaks. It's probably going to become a part of it now. It's becoming a part of it now. Put on your cloak. We're watching a movie. Anyway, with that, I think I want to go watch Lord of the Rings in my new cloak. If you liked this, definitely stay tuned because, sure, we've made the cloaks, but they ain't waterproof yet. That will be a future video coming up. If you're into more of the lore-related stuff when it comes to Middle-earth, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, that kind of thing, definitely go check out our second channel, The Lore Dimension. We do some cool things there. Our last video we put out was all about Gandalf. He wears cloaks. Get with the program, people. Put on your cloaks. Also, if you want to support the channel, obviously liking and subscribing does just that. But if you want to support a little bit more, we do have a Patreon that is pretty much exclusively for materials for the channel, leather, actual material, things to make stuff. So any support there is appreciated. The lowest tier is $1. So thanks if you do that. Oh, that's a thing I didn't. Oh, heck, hang on. The best bit is the hood. I made this. I made the hood. I made the cloak. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Who knows what that could be? So.
Hey, children aren't supposed to go in that cupboard.
What are you doing? No, don't do that. You don't get to eat the cardboard. Do you want to come say hi? I want to pull out the cloak. Give me my cloak. Once the buttonholes were done, then it was a matter of, how dare you, marking, and to say it's my first solo cloak. Solo cloaks. They are my first solo. Boo. Do 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 do. They're taking the hobbits. They're taking the hobbits. The hobbits. The hobbits. The hobbits. Anyway, I'm not taking this off now. You can't make me. The best bit. That didn't work. That didn't work. Okay. And where's she gone? Just kidding. I'm still here. Cloaks. Okay, now I'm done.